Okay, today I'm going to talk about replacing some teak. When I went through my wood this spring, I found some, actually only one small part, like you can see here, that was completely rotten. Quite impressive actually. The boat is about 40 years old, and I think most of the wood is actually original, so teak is very robust, but this piece has been broken. So I take away all the broken wood, all the rotten wood, which is only one part, as you can see, and of course I also need to take away the screws that were there, 8 to 10 screws that held it, and then there was quite a lot of work to get it completely cleaned. I didn't want to have any remains of the rotten wood there, but I really wanted to only replace the rotten part, not touch anything of the rest. So I cut a new piece of teak to length, put it in the slot and marked it to cut it correct length. And well, a bit primitive tools, but that was good enough. Okay, fitted it to make sure that it actually fit. And as with boats, of course, nothing is straight lines, so everything is bent, but it's tiny enough so I can bend it by hand. I don't need to steam it or anything. So preparing it, of course, with holes, and this kind of wood I want to put wooden plugs on as well. So I drilled 4 8mm wooden plugs and rather small screws. I marked so all the holes came on the same level, quite high up on this because it fits into the rest. And just for making it look nice, I wanted it to be symmetric as well. So I measured so the holes and the plugs would be the same distance from both ends. That detail that, of course, no one would notice more than myself, of course. So I cleaned the slot to make sure the sealer gets good grip. I used what I had. In this case it was alcohol, ethanol, that it's good to clean with. And of course always after you do anything in this slot, also you vacuum it to make sure there's no remains or anything that will make the wood stand up or anything like that. So using the vacuum quite a lot. I'm using white sealant here. That's because I was running really short on the brown sealant that's used for the wood. So because this is not visible, I use white because I had lots of white. So first I plug the old holes. Some people will be a bit upset that I didn't plug them properly with epoxy or something, but that's enough as long as water don't come in. And after I plug the old holes, I also put quite a lot of sealant at the bottom. Again, this will not be visible. This is just sealing at the bottom of the new wood. I will seal this both in the front towards the other wood and also against the hull, and for that I will use a brown sealant, the same as all other wood is sealed. But for this I'm putting white sealant at the bottom where I can put the new teak in. You can see I've drilled the holes I talked about. I didn't film everything because that would be too boring for you, I think. put it in there. And as everything is bent, I need to start in one end, so I start at the right end here in this case. Drill a hole, put some brown sealant in that hole, then a screw to hold it down, and I tighten it quite a lot because I want the friction there. There is some bending force involved later on, so just to make sure nothing moves. The same on the other end. And I start at the end. You could argue that when I then pull it down in the middle, it will shorten a bit, but it's less than a millimeter probably that the length will vary here, so I'm not too worried about that. Always remember to seal all holes, and since there is a risk it will be visible when I put the plug in, I put brown sealant on for the holes. Like that. And what remains now is really to pull it down in the middle and also get it screwed in out the middle. Then it's the hard work left to do all the other holes, all the other sealings and all the other screws. But now when it's fitted with 3, I can do them in a row, so I can drill all the other holes and screw in all the other screws, do it all at once. So I'm drilling the holes here, of course using the vacuum to take out all the plastic chips that comes out when I drill. Then I seal all the holes with some brown sealer. This is Sikaflex, which is the most common to be used here in Sweden, at least. You know, it's one of the sealers that's really sticky, and when you use it you get it all over the place, unfortunately. And then to put all the screws in, since I'm going to put plugs in, I need to make sure the screws goes far enough, so I have a couple of millimeters left in the 8mm holes I've drilled. Then I use polyurethane glue. I favor that since it's expanding, so it really gives a very good tight fit. Then I will let the glue dry, of course, for a while, and after that I can get rid of the wood. I always start a couple of millimeters from the actual teak on the plug to make sure I know which direction the wood will splinter on, so I don't go too deep. And then of course you use the tool to like shave off the top and get it as smooth as you can before you move on to the sandpaper. I just sand it down so that it's plain. And I didn't mention that, but of course for many people it's obvious, but the fiber in the wood plug should be the same direction as the wood that you are putting the plug into. I've noticed that in my boat there are actually plugs that is not done that way, so some person haven't understood that, so I'd rather mention that. It looks much nicer, and the idea with the plugs usually is that they should not be visible unless you really look for them. And here I'm just adjusting the end of the wood so that it's exactly the same height as the rest of the wood. I lost some of the recordings, but this is me just putting the oil on. Actually, before this I also did put the sealer on, as I mentioned, the brown sealer. So I masked it and I put the brown sealer on against the hull and also between the new wood and the old wood. Cleaned that up, let that dry, and now I'm putting oil on. I'm using wood skin, which I discovered last year, and I really like it because you can always put some more on top of it. And the result, this is after I put the boat in the water, a couple of coats of oil, and this is cleaning it with water, and it looks really nice. Please remember to like or subscribe if you want to see more.